Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning we're going to talk about how to manage your finances in your 20s. So let's jump right into it. So the fifth and final benchmark to managing your finances in your 20s is really to take that offense approach that we discussed in yesterday's episode and take that to the next level. As a recap, a defense approach is the act of taking more ground, attacking, and going after what it is that you want to accomplish. Taking this approach is great for building your skill set, your income, and also accomplishing the goals that you have set out that you want to accomplish. Now, in order to do this, though, you need to couple this with what you ultimately want to be doing and what you want to accomplish. Now, this is done by developing a vision throughout your 20s, basically setting up that vision and carrying it out and adjusting it accordingly. Now, this will help you to figure out what you want to accomplish in your life. Whether you're in your 20s or not, though, you need to know where you're headed. Do you know where you're headed? Do you know what your life ideally looks like in 5, 10, 20 years down the road? And if you've never sat down to do this, why? Why have you not sat down to actually look at this? Now, for most people, they go through their lives with very little directive. They may want to get a good job, maybe get married, have a family, but they may not actually create a vision and an associated plan to make that vision come to life based on what they're trying to pursue. So do you resonate with that? Do you have a clear vision for your life? And do you have the logical next steps in order for you to make that life a reality and to be able to determine, whether you are actually headed in the right direction or not? What if you don't know where you want to go? You don't know where you're headed. What if your vision is not clear? Maybe it's just underdeveloped or you haven't even started it. Where would you even start? Where would you even begin this process? So in a prior episode, I covered a simplistic approach to writing out a vision for your life using the 7 F's. Now, this wasn't something I was an originator of, even though I tweaked it along the way to fit the needs of what I saw people dealing with. But if you have a clear vision, if you created a clear vision, you will most likely think about these 7 steps, these 7 components that fit into the vision of your life. So I'm going to briefly go through the 7 F's. I had a longer episode before that I actually covered the 7 F's in more depth, but for today's purposes, I'm just going to go over these real briefly. So the first component has to do with faith. This is your guiding principles. This is your values, your morals, your viewpoint of the world, how you view the world. I believe this is foundational to how you live your life and to who you live your life for or for what. And this really goes into being the foundational component of how you write your vision. Now, the remaining components are viewed through this lens, and that's why I believe it's so important to understand what your core beliefs are and then be able to determine whether or not the decisions you are making are aligning with those or contradicting what you believe to be true. So the second component looks at family. For most people, this guides so many other components of life, including the spouse that you choose to marry, whether you choose to have children or not, and maybe even how many. But this is a component that affects more things than people realize. Looking at those relationships, looking at how close you will be to your immediate or extended families, as well as the types and depth of those relationships that you desire to have in the future, that you desire to maybe have in the near future, but also looking forward at what you may have a direct influence on when it comes to how your family relates, the values that are carried out and followed, as well as the traditions that are honored by that family. So the third component looks at friends. These are the people that you choose to spend your time with. These are people that may be those that you walk shoulder to shoulder through life with, those people that you may pour into, or those that may pour into you. Looking at who surrounds you now, and then ideally looking at the character and the caliber of those friends that you ideally want to have in the future, makes a huge difference. It's so important who you surround yourself with. So being intentional to envision the friendships, the depth of those friendships, as well as defining the types of friendships you want to have, and looking at that in more depth. Now, you may have certain friends for a situation, for a season, or even for a lifetime, but determining your level of intentionality with those friends that are lifelong, so that you are spending time with the friends that matter most to you, and being intentional around the topic of friendships. Now, the fourth component looks at fitness. I place this one in this specific order as it's not more important than relationships, more important than people, but if you're not healthy and if you're not in a healthy place, it will heavily impact those relationships. Now, health, of course, is an overall picture of your physical, your mental, your wellness overall. It's an overall picture, but being mindful of not only being active, but resting well, not only eating, but exercising, not only working out, but also ensuring that you are making time for the aspects that really matter to you most in life. It's looking at a balanced approach, looking at an approach of your overall health. The fifth component looks at financial. Now, of course, this is the aspect that I focus most on through Margin in order to help you build financial margin, to be able to build margin into your finances. But having big picture aspirations in regards to your financial picture is especially important, so that you can calibrate that career that you're building to facilitate your financial goals. Now, your finances are a broad term and they're kind of ambiguous, but to look at them more clearly, you want to encompass your ability to not only handle the defense, but also to be able to handle the offense of not only the wealth preservation component, but also the wealth generation as well. Now, there are so many aspects directly related to or affected by your finances, including your ability to be generous from a financial standpoint, your ability to leave a legacy or generational wealth that you pass down to future generations. And I would even say your career and what you will do with the time that you are allotted. So the sixth component looks at fun. Now, this is building in the ability to make room for what is deemed fun to you, however you define that. And it's especially important. What is fun to one person may be pure agony to someone else. But determining what this means for you specifically is especially important. Now, think about the trips or the experiences that you have had or want to have. Think about the aspects that you want to be involved in order to cultivate your ability to loosen up and intentionally be present with the people that matter most to you, but also envisioning your life through the lens of what you can do to enjoy the journey rather than always looking at the destination. Now, you may not have thought about this, but you don't want to wait until retirement to be able to really enjoy and experience life. So you want to be intentional to not just go through life waiting for retirement to have fun. So the seventh component and final component looks at focus. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that this one in particular is pretty difficult for me because there's so many things I'm interested in, but it is absolutely critical for your vision. Looking at what you will focus on, what you'll put your life energy toward, so that you can clearly determine whether you are heading in the right direction, whether you are pursuing the right things. Now, what you focus on is the outcome of the 3 Ps in the last episode that we talked about, but figuring out what it is that makes you come alive, that you can be naturally good at, and what you can make a living doing is especially important in determining what your purpose is. Now, this all said, this vision you develop matters so much. This helps you determine guardrails for your life, aspects that you would operate within for your life to ensure that you are not involving yourself in stuff that you don't have alignment with. This vision you create will consistently change as you mature and grow, and as your life changes, but having guiding principles will ensure you don't waste your life or you get off track at some point. So my call to action today is to make time to spend 30 minutes to develop a vision for your life using the 7 F's. This can be added to or adjusted along the way, but actually putting pen to paper or fingers to a keyboard and ensuring that the decisions you are making today are leading you toward your ultimate vision, where you want to head, rather than away from what you want to pursue in life. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.